Yes, we could not get any more ridiculous.
We like being ridiculous sometimes, but you know what's not ridiculous is how you're going to ask us questions.
Well, this is just a little how-to guide so you can get the most out of a question you might have. The first thing is making sure that the question is in its entirety in one comment.
Very important, yeah.
Not a series of comments that we have to track as we're live.
Well, we can't track them. That's the point, right?
Yeah, and it kind of wastes a little bit of time where other people could be having a question answered while we're trying to figure out what your question is.
You okay?
Yeah.
Be specific also. Don't give us vague. Well, what about the, try to be as specific as possible. We know it's a limited space in the comment. And also, please understand, we're not going to get to every question if it's really busy. And we're hoping when we're recording this right now, which is a couple of days before the broadcast, we're hoping it's going to be really busy. If it's not busy, we'll answer all the questions. But if it's really busy, we might not get to all the questions.
I just wish it was St. Patrick's Day, because this boa you have is rocking. If it was St. Patrick's
All right, back to the broadcast.
Oh, God. Why do we do this?
Hello, good afternoon in California. Good evening here on the East Coast. I'm Trevor, and I see Toshiba. You are here. Hello. Hope you are well too, Toshiba. And I want to thank you folks for joining us. We're going to do questions and answers today on the COVID-19 EIDL program for ongoing transactions, interactions you may have with the SBA, and for disaster loans for those folks affected by natural disasters who may want advice on applying for the disaster loans with the SBA. I wanted to open up with a joke that said, when I wear a feather boa, I don't often wear a feather boa, but when I wear a feather boa, it's usually because I'm speaking about the SBA. Linda Ray is with me. Hello, Cora. Thanks for joining us. Linda Ray is with me, but she is off camera because Linda Ray is on hiatus and is not even supposed to be doing this much work, but she's sitting over here on the leather love seat, our dining room love seat.
Hello.
And she's going to interrupt me as I ramble on. Now, if you have watched us in the past, you know that when we've done these videos together, she's usually sitting right there next to me. And when I get too lost in my own miasma of meditations, hi Cookie, hey Antonio, and when she's sitting next to me, she'll often kick me under the table, which is her way of telling me to shut up. And there you go. Hello, Truth Seeker. Welcome back. There you go. You've seen the screen that's going to pop up because I asked Linda Ray to be a filter for me during our broadcast today. So again, folks, thanks for joining us. We're going to take your questions. And just a quick note about questions. Number one, if you could please be short and concise and put your question into a single comment box. It is very difficult for me to track, multiple comment boxes for a single question. So please be very specific. With regard to how I'm going to answer those questions, mostly I'm going to respond by saying, I can tell you what you have to do, but I may not get into the minutia of how to do that. We simply cannot give you the response to a specific process with the SBA in a question here necessarily on the video. You'll either need to go it alone and learn how to interact with the SBA on your own, or engage with our resource hub, which we have created. And yes, there is a cost. It's not free. We give away a lot of free advice, like this live broadcast. And we've been doing this since the days of the pandemic, coming on to YouTube and giving away free question and answer sessions to help people weather the storm, if you will. And we're continuing that tradition. Linda wanted me to pose this next statement in as complimentary and as least antagonistically as possible. So I'm going to see if I can filter myself. We get folks reaching out every single day asking for help. Hi, Elsie Charles. Welcome to the broadcast. And whether it's comments on our videos or emails, phone calls, text messages, every single day someone asks for our advice, our help. And we understand why, because navigating the programs at the Small Business Administration are very complicated, and the SBA does not make it easy. As Linda Ray often has said on our videos, you have to be better than the SBA, and it's very hard to do that if you're a business owner who doesn't have a lot of experience. The experience that I brought into this mess in March of 2020 is that I spent 30 years as a mortgage banking loan officer with a specialty in government loans. Linda spent decades working in the insurance industry as an underwriter and as a broker and as the owner of an independent insurance agency. So we had that kind of leg up, if you will, experientially. And from the beginning, we set out to provide folks out here in the United States with accurate, timely information that you could use to be successful. And we continue that tradition to this day. But when folks are asking us for help and they don't ask us what it would cost for the help, they just make assumptions that everything we put out there is free. And I don't know if that is how you run your small business. Hello, Pistol Pete. JJ the CPA is excellent. I've been watching him since the pandemic days. He's excellent. It's one of the better sources. Thank you for sharing that, Pete. But again, we do what we can to give free advice, including occasionally commenting or responding to comments on our various YouTube videos. So again, I'm going to try to present this in as sweet and polite and diplomatic a way as possible. This morning, I took a minute and I looked at some of the other YouTubers who discussed this topic. And Pete, thanks for reminding me about JJ the CPA. I have not looked at his channel in quite a while, so I cannot speak to how he interacts with his audience. But what I noticed on the other channels, nobody on those channels responds to comments the way that we do. One channel literally says comments are closed, so you can't even make a comment to ask for help. The other channels, and there are many channels out there that discuss this topic, and time and again, when I did my search for about half an hour this morning, and you could do it too, just here in the search box on YouTube, just type in EIDL, and you'll see all the channels that discuss this topic. And then I would invite you to watch some of their videos and look at the comments, and you will see that those folks who run those channels don't answer questions in the comments. Some folks actually say, you can book a consultation or you can reach us through our website. And of course, we get the occasional comment here that, that we are hucksters and shills, which is just so offensive, considering how much free information we have given away for going on 5 years.
Are you going to start crying?
I'm not going to start crying. That's my homemade vegetable soup that I had 45 minutes ago, kind of repeating, because I cannot belch. I know it's a thing. Toshiba, it's a thing, okay? I cannot burp. It's just a thing. Can't do it.
Moving on.
So if you see me go like that, it's only because my vegetable soup, bean soup, was exceptional, and it was yummy, and some of it, I need to cut loose with a really good burp right now.
Oh my God.
Hey, listen, there's only limited filters I've got here for this broad. Hang on. Let's really get to it.
Can we stick to the script, please?
There's a script?
Yes.
All right. We're going to talk about 3 areas of concern today Number one, COVID-19 EIDL forgiveness. What if the Congress enables the Small Business Administration to provide forgiveness? That's the first segment of our show today. Number two, disaster loans for those folks impacted by natural disasters, notably Hurricanes Milton and Helene and the Los Angeles wildfires. If you're in those areas and you are having challenges interacting with the Small Business Administration to either learn how to apply for a disaster loan or you've been declined for a disaster loan, we would encourage you to pop in the comment box with your questions. And the third and final segment of our broadcast today will be about compliance with the COVID-19 EIDL program with the SBA. So Linda is going to manage questions to kind of keep me under control. Linda, before I jump into forgiveness, what if, do we have some questions?
We do not. So you may proceed with the what if.
We do not. By the way, I recently discovered Italian lemon soda. Oh my God.
I'm going to do a transition to forgiveness. So, yeah.
Okay. Okay, we see those comments all the time. In fact, when I was doing my background research this morning and looking at other channels, you know, I see the same comments in those folks' videos, which is, you know, EIDL forgiveness. It's going to happen. You know, the new president, the new administration, they're going to do it. They're going to forgive all the loans. And we get those same comments. If you have watched any of our videos for any considerable time, you know my professional expert opinion. And by the way, I don't call myself expert, you know, just making it up out of my head. If you go to our Google reviews, where we have nearly 300 Google reviews, many dozens of people have called me and us experts. But in my expert opinion, these loans will never be forgiven. But we're going to suspend disbelief. I love watching movies. And last night, Linda and I were hanging out, watching a movie, free movie on YouTube, and it was really good. What was the film we were watching again? The Cobbler.
Yeah.
The Cobbler with Adam Sandler. It was excellent. And at one point, I made a comment about some problem with you know, continuity. And Linda looks at me and she goes, "You have to suspend disbelief." So we're going to suspend disbelief here momentarily, and we're going to pretend that Congress today enabled the SBA to forgive these loans. So what if that were to happen? What if it happened today? Do you all think that they're really just going to wave a wand and magically forgive 4 million COVID loans? I mean, again, I have to throw this in there. This is magical, fantastical thinking that these loans are going to be forgiven. But if it were to happen, okay?
Pick up the energy, honey.
Pretend you're the lender. Pretend you're the SBA. Pretend you're the federal government. Ask yourself this question. Wouldn't I only forgive the better quality loans, the people who have been responsible with payments, the people who have been compliant with requirements of the loan agreement, which comes out in the mix? And how does it come out in the mix? We're going to talk about that in a second. But if you're the lender and you're only going to provide forgiveness to the best quality loans, because those are the business that are thriving and surviving, by extension, why would you approve forgiveness for businesses that are in default for failure to pay, in default for technical or legal issues, you know, such as selling business assets without permission from the SBA, you know, any number of compliance issues, or you're in the hardship accommodation program because you can't afford the payments, right? Now, I know I'm going to get a lot of blowback on this because people are going to say, that's exactly the people that should get forgiveness. The people who are in hardship because they can't afford it. No, you would be wrong. You see, I'm going to apply a Darwinian concept here. Darwin said it's the survival of the fittest, right? So if the businesses, if you're the lender, you're the federal government, thank you, Junior. Appreciate your comment, appreciate you. If you're the lender, you're the United States government, you're going to forgive COVID-19 EIDLs. You want to forgive the loans that are performing, the loans that are compliant, because the whole idea is forgiving this debt will allow that business to continue functioning and earning money and contributing to the American economy. That was the whole purpose of the loan program in the first place. You know, we get people all the time going, oh, the program was to save me. No, it was not. The program was not there to save you like a life-saving thing off a boat. No, it was to help businesses that could afford to repay the loan. Because if you remember, to get approved for the loan, they had calculations to determine based on your revenue if you could afford the payments. And they approved you according to those standards. The idea was to lend you money because you can afford to repay the loan. And when we come out the other side of this pandemic, you're going to pay the loan back. So this was not a lifesaver. It was an economic decision made by the United States Congress to fund this program. So by extension, if the Congress is going to authorize SBA to forgive the program, what if that happens? They're going to want businesses that are going to maintain a strong foothold in the American economy to build the economy and generate tax revenue, because businesses that make money pay taxes. Businesses that make money hire people, and those people pay taxes. And those people buy stuff. This is how the American economy works. So why, if they were to approve forgiveness, why would they give forgiveness to businesses that right now cannot afford to make the payments? Because those businesses are on the final skids. You know, we are now 3 years out, just about, from the ending of the program, May of 2022, February 2025. So we're just shy of 3 years out from the ending of the program. And many businesses got their initial approval just in those final months, but most businesses got their approvals in 2020, 2021. So for those folks, you are 5 and 4 years out. That was, according to the way the government is thinking about you and the loan program, sufficient time for you to come up with a plan. You knew what the monthly payment was from the get-go because you had to authorize acceptance of the loan, and they gave you the monthly payment. The monthly payment is in the loan agreement that you signed. It's right there in the third or fourth paragraph, maybe even the first or second paragraph. So you can't say you didn't know. You can't say you didn't have time. You had to make a plan. And that is how the government approached this, that you as a small business owner would make a plan to repay this debt. So that's my first what if. What if forgiveness was approved by Congress? You got to imagine that they're only going to want to give it to the best quality businesses. Number two, don't you think if there's going to be forgiveness for however it's going to work, whether they're going to offer it to everybody or they're only going to offer it to the best performing businesses or the businesses that are performing in repayments and the businesses in hardship, let's say whatever, they're going to offer it. Don't you think there will be an approval process? Number one, under pressure from certain politicians in Washington, D.C., the Small Business Administration is being told day in and day out to enforce collection of these debts, to root out fraud, to look for criminals. Kelly Loeffler, the new SBA administrator, in her confirmation hearing, she said that was going to be a priority for her and her administration of the Small Business Administration. Fine fraud. So therefore, what if they approved forgiveness? Well, then, following these same standards, they're going to have a process, which means you're going to have to submit a form. You're going to have to request the forgiveness the way you have to request lower payments through the Hardship Accommodation Program, the way you have to request permission to sell your business, the way you have to request permission to sell assets that are sold outside of the normal course of your business. Think about it. Logically, it totally makes sense. Look, I don't know how the student loan forgiveness program worked, but I feel like in my radar, I read news reports about that people with student loans had to request it. They may have had to fill out paperwork. They may have had to visit a website, but I'm pretty sure there was some mechanism. Maybe I'm wrong. If any of you have student loans that you were involved with forgiveness last year, I would love to hear your comment about that. But with the Small Business Administration, we have already seen, especially with the loans that went to the U.S. Treasury for collections last year, and the SBA offered people the opportunity to bring it back, there was a process. That was the Hardship Accommodation Program. Even if you want to get your 6-month hardship period extended, there's a process. And let me tell you, just like we have seen since the days of the pandemic, SBA does not make this process easy. It is difficult. We had a client who, I mentioned this on last week's broadcast, we're assisting them with a variety of things on their business. And as part of that, we processed a hardship accommodation to bring their loan back from U.S. Treasury last year. And so we recently requested the extension of the next 6 month for the next 6 month hardship period. And because the client didn't respond, because the borrower did not respond to the SBA loan specialist immediately, she denied their request for hardship extension because he didn't respond promptly enough. He was on vacation for a week. The email came in on a Monday while he was on holiday. The next Monday when he came back to work, he saw the email, notified us. We gave him the information. He responded the same day. And by that Wednesday, she said, no, it's too late. So the SBA doesn't make it easy. Do you think they're going to make it easy to forgive these loans? As a reminder, the TARP program, which bailed out Wall Street, I've said this 1,000 times here on YouTube, the United States government made those banks and those Wall Street firms repay that debt to the United States Treasury. The United States government made a profit on bailing out the banks. We see those comments also, like, oh, they're bailing out the banks 10, 12 years ago, 13. They bailed them all out. They should bail us out. Except they bailed those banks out, and those banks paid the money back with interest. We see the same kind of nonsensical, ridiculous political comments. Oh, they're giving all this money to Ukraine. The Ukraine assistance, two things. Number one, foreign aid is a tiny percentage of the giant American economic budget, federal spending budget. Number two, the United States has been sending weapons to Ukraine. Weapons manufactured here in the United States by American manufacturers, purchased by the United States government from American companies, and then shipping those weapons. So please don't bring your nonsense, ridiculous politics, because we will show you, as they say, as Jim Wright often says, we're going to show you the airlock and send you out into space. Okay, Linda Ray has a question for me. Yay. What do we got?
All right.
All right.
Antonio had a question, and he's made it a little more specific.
If the business revenue grew up during and after the pandemic, would you still qualify for EIDL loan? I'm not sure what type of loan you're talking about. Do you mean for a disaster? Like if your business is located in a declared disaster area and you want to request a disaster loan? So if that's the case, we recently had a client a large landscaping company in Southern California who was declined twice for 2 different disaster loans. His math, I've reviewed all his numbers. He lost $680,000 due to those disasters. And we just got the final decision from the SBA a few days ago. But before I tell you the final decision, back in November, December, he got a call from an SBA loan specialist, and she was offering him $13,000 based on his tax returns, which I argued, and I had her escalate that to her supervisor, her team leader. That's what they call them at SBA. And just 3 or 4 days ago, I think it was last Thursday, the SBA came, which is 7 days ago, the SBA team leader came back and said, oh no, we're not even going to give you $13,000. We're giving you 0, no money, because you were able to keep your business open during the disaster period with revenues that you had and money you had, which makes no sense. It just demonstrates yet again that the SBA really does not understand how small business works. And the loan specialist was arguing with me saying, well, you know, the loan is not for lost revenue. It's not a loan to make up for lost revenue. It's a loan to pay for operating expenses. But hang on, I don't understand. If it takes you at the SBA nearly a year to approve this loan after it was declined and we sent reconsideration in, and then that was declined, then we requested appeal, all of this process, and you're going to say now that the business was able to get through the disaster by using revenue it was earning at the time to pay its I mean, the business has to stay open. Whether the business owner taps into his personal savings or the business savings, or she's a business owner who has credit cards or lines of credit and she uses those, one way or another, revenue is lost. And if they are paying their operating expenses because they are desperate to stay afloat. But when they're coming to you, SBA, after the fact, they're saying, listen, I lost a lot of money because of this disaster. I need you to make up that shortfall. So I don't know if that answers your question, Antonio. What's our next question? Linda Ray.
Okay, next question. I don't know if Voodoo is here.
Well, let's do this question from Boss Babe and Budgets.
Well, there was other questions before that.
Sorry.
Now that you're there.
No, we'll come. I'm not supposed to manage questions. Linda Ray is managing questions. Okay, Toshiba, what tools does SBA Treasurer have to collect on a bankrupt EIDL? Okay, we have discussed this before in our videos. So to be clear, we are not attorneys and this is not legal advice. So please consult with a bankruptcy attorney to confirm what I'm about to say. We have found several attorneys here on YouTube, all of whom have said that the COVID-19 EIDL can be included in bankruptcy. So if a loan is in bankruptcy, it's discharged. The debt is discharged. It's like any debt, so there you go. Okay. Next question.
Next question is, hold on, here we go.
Here we go.
Oh, man. Okay, here we go.
Coach Dave. I don't know, Dave. We don't know the answer to that question.
That's it?
This is not the same as the COVID program. SBA has changed their SOP in terms of how they're underwriting these files. They're plugging numbers into a spreadsheet. I cannot get a straight answer from the SBA as to how they're calculating. One loan officer in the same conversation where she told me that the business was ineligible because of insufficient cash flow, as she could see it on her spreadsheet, to which I said, so that spreadsheet populates automatically? She says, oh no, I have to manually enter the income and the liabilities, which is unbelievable. That this was last year, 2024, you have to do that, the SBA, but we already know that technology is 15 years behind the times. So she says in that same conversation, a few minutes later, she says, well, we can have a debt to income ratio we go up to, and I don't remember the number because it wasn't worth remembering. So I apologize. We cannot answer that question. Next question, Linda Ray.
Okay. Next question is, whoops, I gotta get rid of
While you're looking for that, I just do want to say this. If you are applying for any kind of financing, if you take a simple fifth grade arithmetic look at your tax return, and if the bottom line income is a loss, if the bottom line income is very small, let's say you made, $750,000 in gross revenue, but you're showing on the bottom line after expenses, $38,000 profit. Just use your common sense. You don't need to know a formula. You don't need to know a formula. You need to understand that those decisions you made with your tax professional to lower your net income, to in turn lower your tax liability, is going to come around and bite you on the ass when you apply for financing, whether it is a disaster loan or any other type of financing. And our other channel, Simple Sense for Small Business, we have discussed this ad nauseum. Linda's going to put the link up. And this is a good opportunity for me to ask all of you to take a moment right now, if you find I'm not ranting and raving like an idiot, to hit the thumbs up and like the video that we're doing right now, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell so you get notifications. Consider an act of charity. You do an act of charity. Consider taking our video or other videos we have on our channel, sharing those with somebody. Antonio, share our videos with your attorney. Toshiba, share our videos with your accountant.
All right, next question. You didn't answer the question.
I know. I want to answer the question. I just feel it's time we got to plug ourselves. I mean, we are here to make money. I mean, we are in business.
Okay.
So please like and subscribe and share this video. And if you need answers to these questions more detailed, that you are willing to do DIY, do it yourself, we have our resource hub with expert advice and forms and templates and a private playlist of instructional videos. Current price, $675. I'm about to publish new updates through April 30th. If you buy it now, you get free updates through April 30th. If you don't buy it now, the price will be $1,285 once we publish the updates. Okay, Boss Babe and Budgets. At long last, I'm up to your question. Thank you, Linda Ray. Okay. I'm a sole proprietor. I've done Uber for 7 years now, and I only make enough to pay my household bills. If I file bankruptcy, will I be blacklisted and getting USD? Oh, you asked this question yesterday, and we said show up. So thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Boss Babe and Budgets. You're a rock star.
You only waited forever.
Thank you for joining us. Okay. The bad news is the answer to your question is most likely yes. You will be prohibited from participating in any other federal loan programs or grants in the future. When you default on a federal debt, you go into what's called a do not pay database. And do not pay means, the person or the business doesn't pay their debts to the government. And so as an underwriting standard for all kinds of federal programs, they look at the do not pay list. Also, certain agencies use the federal government's CAVERS system, which is Credit Alert Interactive Verification Retrieval System, which we used in the mortgage industry to verify that if you were applying for a government loan, such as a Federal Housing Administration loan or a USDA loan to buy a house or refinance a house, or a Veterans Administration loan, we would check CAVERS, because if you're on CAVERS and you get what's called a CAVERS alert, that means you are prohibited from participating in that loan program. And in fact, in the CAVERS system, it is not just failure to pay debts. It is not just defaulting on federal debts. It is also people who have been convicted of criminal activity on federal programs. So, for instance, on a real estate transaction where the people buying the house are getting requesting an FHA, Federal Housing Administration mortgage, when we check CAVERS, we plug in not just the people applying for the mortgage, but the people selling the house, the real estate agents, and if they have attorneys, the attorneys representing all the parties. And if one of those other people, not the borrowers, if one of those other people come up as a caver's alert because they're prohibited from doing business because of criminal, activity, criminal convictions, then those people have to be removed from the transaction. They cannot participate. So I don't know if that answers your question, because here's the other side of that, which is the kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, Linda Ray? The brass tacks. Okay, that's not the word, but it's two words, but it's not the two words. The second COVID EIDL we processed back in 2020 was for a local business here in Connecticut, where he got a declination letter for the EIDL, and it said, because you defaulted on a previous SBA loan, you are not eligible, like barred for life kind of thing. Well, I got someone on the phone, the SBA, and she told me that she was going to approve his request, and she never said a word about the previous thing. And I brought it up on the call, and she kind of just chuckled, and she gave us the approval. So my brass tacks answer to you, Boss Babe and Budgets, would be this. You got to do what you got to do right now. Do it. Because if you are struggling to pay this bill, and if your attorney says that they can include the COVID EIDL in the bankruptcy, and that bankruptcy is going to help you save your life and move on with your life and give you a clean slate, then you should do that and worry about those consequences if and when they happen. Next question, Linda Ray.
All right. I do want to go back to Dave, because I think you can answer this pretty quickly about, this is the subsequent.
But I don't know, when you say, but they're telling us, it's on the SBA website. It's
that's the
part of the regulations for the program. The disaster loan program, a business can be eligible for up to $2 million. Listen, it's the same if I pre-qualified you when I was a mortgage banker. If I pre-qualified you for a mortgage and I said that you are qualified up to $350,000 purchase price for a house, that doesn't mean you're going to buy a $350,000. Maybe you're going to buy a $200,000 house. But what it does mean is that you're qualified for $350,000 and not $700,000. So the fact that the SBA is allowed to lend up to $2 million on a disaster loan does not mean that everyone is going to be eligible for that. As I mentioned earlier about our landscaping client, Southern California, that is a business that has substantial, in the millions, of revenue. And that business lost $680,000. And at first the SBA said, we'll give you $13,000. And then they came back and said, well, no, we're not going to give you anything. So I know this sounds confusing, but that's because almost everything about the SBA is confusing. I have argued with SBA loan officers, loan specialists, contractors, whoever it was during the pandemic, because I read in the summer of 2020, after we helped our first 40 clients to get approved, and things kind of quieted down, and I got sick. I got COVID. I read the SBA's Statement of Procedures, which is the underwriting handbook. And I've had many SBA representatives tell me on the phone, wow, Trevor, you really know this program in and out. Wow, you know more about this program than many of my colleagues. That's great. That's a terrible thing to hear, because, I don't work for the SBA. But I've had these arguments about criteria in the SBA Statement of Procedures, and I've had loan specialists just, dig in their heels and say, no, we can't do that. I'm like, but in the guidebook, it says you can do that. Please understand, in my mortgage career, that's how I made a living. That's how I put people in houses for 30 years, arguing with my underwriters at the bank saying, it's here in the guidebook. It says we can do this loan. They can get a gift from their mother and their aunt and their uncle, and they don't need any money of their own for the FHA program. And I would win those arguments. Next question. Nice one, Linda Ray. Nice one. Cut me off at perfect timing. can we, if you have a question, let's put it up. Otherwise, let's move on to the next segment about disaster loans, which we're kind of in that.
There are a couple other questions that I want to get up because they've been waiting.
I am Yoel. Hello, Yoel. I once worked for a man named Yoel. He was a lovely man. He was wonderful to work for. Okay. I saw an ad for a company that was offering to get you another 3 years of 90% hardship. That is complete fucking bullshit.
Whoa! Hey, it's a family show.
Hey, listen, I don't fucking care. That Yoel, that is a scam. Here's how the hardship program works. Consecutively, you can get hardship accommodation program approval from the SBA in 6-month increments for a total of 2.5 years. That's 5 6-month periods. The first 2 hardship periods is a reduction to 10% of your required payment with a minimum payment required of $25. In other words, if your payment is reduced to less than 25, you would have to pay 25. Okay. That is for the first and the second hardship accommodation period. When your 6-month hardship period ends, you must request extension from the SBA. 2.5 years, Pistol Pete. 2.5, not 3. Once you have exhausted those first 2 90% reductions and you want to apply for the third hardship period, if the SBA approves you, you must pay 50% of the required payment. Once that third 6-month period ends and you request an extension to the fourth hardship period, your payment will go from 50% up to 75% of the required payment. And that is the same for the remaining 5th accommodation 6-month period. So, Yoel, I hope that helps you understand that that company is a scam.
Tell them we have a hardship playlist.
We have a hardship video playlist here on YouTube, Yoel. I would invite you to find that after the broadcast today. And if you need expert step-by-step instructions, which includes my step-by-step instructions in our guidebook, which includes the HAP application, which includes how to submit, how to fill out the application, my templates I use for our clients to be successful, you can access our EIDL resource hub. Click on the link in the description for that. And thank you, Yoel. That was an excellent, excellent question. Linda, can we move to the next segment about disaster loans?
They'll never be found, or they'll wash up on the banks, 5 years from now.
And in this area, there was like houses that came from miles away.
10, 15, 20 miles away.
Wow. So the water was that powerful that it just...
As you get down this river where it feeds into the lake, there's an area we call the stew pot. It's like a log jam, and it's just solid houses and logs all the way down to the bottom of the river, all the way across. You can't even see the water. And you can't really search that effectively. It's just compressed all the way down. You can't get a diver in it. You can't get a boat in it. Something that people in the media haven't really touched on just because they don't know. It's not just about bringing them closure, but if you don't make a recovery, they're stuck in probate court for 3 years. They can't get a life insurance payout. So there's a lot more to it than just trying to bring their family member home, getting closure. They can't move forward financially or any other way until they get a death certificate. So we're just trying to get as much done as we can in the daylight in the next 2 weeks before it gets too cold and before we get a few feet of snow burying around, and the dogs.
Rescue crews in Connecticut are working around the clock after severe flooding hits the state. This morning, cleanup efforts are underway. Crews are working to inspect infrastructure and remove debris from damaged roadways and bridges. And meanwhile, some homeowners are still unsure about what to do about their damaged houses. Fox Weather's Chelsea Torres joins us live from Connecticut. Chelsea, wow, what a sight behind you.
Brian, when I first saw this, I was immediately shocked.
And we're back. Thank you for joining us today, folks. As a reminder, if you have a question, please be very specific and minimal detail. Please remove any storytelling from your questions and use a single comment box. It is very difficult to track multiple comment boxes. Also, if you are happy with the response, you can buy us a pizza. You can buy us a cup of coffee, or you could buy us a pizza and a grinder, which is what we had for dinner last night And yes, we call heroes and subs grinders here in Connecticut. And we went to a wonderful place and we had a small pizza with sausage and we had a meatball grinder. Now I'm hungry. Okay, but you can do that. You can buy us that by clicking on the thanks button at the bottom of the video. And as a reminder, please like and share, and please subscribe to our channel. For those folks in disaster areas, but real quick, Leslie Murillo and Boss Babe and Budgets, I see your comments and question. I'm going to get to you momentarily, so please hang in there. For folks in disaster areas, we cannot imagine what you are going through in North Carolina and Tennessee and Los Angeles right now. I spoke this afternoon to a young woman who we've been working with for about a year. She was assisting her boss with a U.S. Treasury collection nightmare, and we assisted them with that. And I chatted with her today, and she revealed to me that she lost everything in her house in Malibu. So we cannot even imagine, Linda and I, what you're going through. But what we can do, provide you a little bit of insight on how to apply for the SBA disaster loan program. And maybe that can help you be successful and improve your chances of success with the SBA. First of all, when you apply for a disaster loan from the SBA, the following types of loans are available. People who rent a home or apartment that it was impacted by a disaster, you can borrow money at very low cost through the SBA to replace belongings. If you are a homeowner, you can get a low cost, fixed rate loan from the SBA to replace belongings and also repair damage to your home. If you are a small business owner, you can apply for an SBA physical damage disaster loan at a low fixed interest rate, very low fixed rate, and you can get the money you need to repair the damage to your business caused by the disaster. Typically, you have a short window to request these types of loans, so be mindful of your timelines and you should consider subscribing to your regional SBA office newsletter. If you're a small business, you can also request an economic injury loan. There are 3 phases to the application process. You will create a profile on the My SBA portal, which is lending.sba.gov. Once you create that profile, it says search for disasters, and you put in your zip code, and it tells you, put in your address, and it tells you what disasters you may be eligible for. You click on that disaster, and you begin the application process, and it will ask you, is this for a residence or is it for a business? That is the initial application process, and we would encourage you, do not use, here it is in my pocket. Do not use this to apply for an SBA loan. Do not. You will fail. Use a computer. If you have lost your computer because of the disaster, the FEMA Service Center has computers you can access. Probably your local municipality can provide that, or your local public library. We encourage you strongly, do not use a smartphone to apply for an SBA disaster loan. Once you've applied for initial application, if you're approved, the SBA is required to disperse the initial $25,000 on a physical disaster loan. I think it is within 30 days or less of your approval date. And once you're at that stage and you're approved, you'll be dealing with their legal department. And we've seen many challenges dealing with paralegals working at the SBA who fall down on the job on all kinds of elements, not the least of which is failing to properly disperse the funds in a timely manner. So be aware of that. If, on the other hand, you have applied for an SBA disaster loan and you are declined, you will then have 6 months to request what is called a reconsideration. You cannot submit a new application. So don't go into the MySBA and create a new profile. Don't do that. Go into your existing MySBA portal where you will see, you have to click on, if your loan was declined, you have to click on the tab that says Show Inactive Applications. You click on that and your declined loan will appear on the screen. And I know this works because I just did this for somebody last week. You'll see the status of that loan. It says declined. But right under that, it says Request Reconsideration. You click on that. And of course, then it says, are you sure you want to request? Yes, of course I'm sure I want to request reconsideration. Hello. Okay. Sorry. I'll try to take a deep breath. Oh, okay. Request reconsideration, and then you have to upload supporting documents to show why you should have gotten approved in the first place. Well, if they have not told you the reason why you were declined, such as discrepancies, or the person we spoke to last week who was declined, it said inability to repay the loan. And he spoke to the loan specialist on the phone before the loan was declined. And the guy could not give him a clear explanation as to what it was about his tax return or his income that wasn't qualifying. So if you do not know the reason, how can you submit supporting documents? So my advice is to create an affidavit, sign it, and state in the affidavit, my loan was declined. I do not know the reason. It put discrepancies. It put ineligible. It put inability to repay. Because I do not know the specific reason, I can therefore not submit supporting documents. Please reconsider my loan request. That's it. Don't tell stories. Short and to the point. And you will upload that into the supporting documents tab once you have clicked on the reconsideration button. If your loan is declined for reconsideration, you then have 30 days to appeal that decision. And let me tell you, they require you act very quickly. And again, if you don't know the reason why your application and or your reconsideration was declined, and you can't provide, listen, if I tell you your loan is declined because you didn't submit the driver's license for the 30% shareholder of your corporation, well, that's easy to do. That's a supporting document. Oops, how did I miss that? I can upload that. But if you don't know what the reason was specifically, how can you provide supporting documents? Create another affidavit and says, I hereby appeal the reconsideration declination. I do not know why you declined it. I can therefore not provide supporting documents. So you have 30 days. So you have three aspects of the disaster loan application. The initial application, if that's declined, the reconsideration, you have 6 months to apply for that. If that's declined, appeal that declination, and you have 30 days to request appeal. Okay, I want to discuss if you're applying for a disaster loan and you got a COVID-19 economic injury disaster loan, how that impacts it. But before we do, I want to address Leslie Moriggio. I like what you're saying. I like what I'm saying too. Apparently, Leslie, if you haven't noticed, I like hearing myself talk. Okay. Hey, Linda Ray, no jokes from the peanut in the gallery. Leslie, I like what you're saying. We are struggling to save our business, but I'm making my monthly payment. It's not easy. Two things. Number one, consider having a conversation with your CPA and your attorney, Leslie, about shutting it down and filing bankruptcy and making this debt. As I said to many people when I was a mortgage banker, and my whole business for 30 years was first-time buyers. And I would teach people how to buy a house as part of my process of qualifying them for a mortgage. But often, not often, but every once in a while, I would meet somebody who clearly had credit challenges or income challenges or asset challenge or any combination of that, especially if it was credit. And I see this all the time with credit. People, like Sisyphus trying to, or is it Atlas trying to roll that boulder up the hill and not really getting it and keep sliding back. If you've got credit challenges because somebody lost a job, somebody got sick, there was a car accident, any number of things, life happens. And if life crises cause you to have credit problems, I would say to people, what are you doing? Why are you trying to pay debt that you clearly cannot pay? And now you're asking me to lend you money to buy a house that I cannot lend you because of this credit problem you've got. Go see an attorney and consider filing bankruptcy and clean the slate. So Leslie, I hope that is helpful for you. There will be an upcoming video that I will be doing, which will address this specific issue of bankruptcy and closing businesses more in more detail. It's not going to be a live broadcast. It's going to be one of our pre-recorded videos. So Leslie, please subscribe and hit the notifications bell so you can see that video when we publish it. Boss Babe and budgets. No, you will not be prohibited from getting a conventional home loan unless the defaulted SBA loan appears on your credit report. Now, if you filed bankruptcy, then there's a waiting period between the discharge date, not the filing date, but the discharge date of the bankruptcy, and when you can apply for a conventional mortgage. Now, I retired from the mortgage industry in 2018. When I retired, the waiting period was 4 years for a Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac conventional loan. I don't know what it is today. The Federal Housing Administration, it was 2 years waiting period, and with very special exceptions, you know, like somebody got cancer and that's why you had to file bankruptcy, then you could potentially get approved for an FHA loan in less than 2 years. But for conventional loans, when I retired in 2018, the waiting period was 4 years. So that's 4 years to rebuild your credit. I would recommend you consult with a mortgage banking professional, not a banker. Do not walk into your credit union. Do not walk into, you know, your local commercial bank. Find a licensed mortgage banker. There are mortgage companies that only do mortgage loans, and they are direct lenders. Do not go to a mortgage broker. They're just a middleman. Go to a mortgage banker and have that mortgage banker pre-qualify you. Boss, Babe, and Budgets, again, thank you for your excellent question. I hope that was helpful. Okay. Linda, do you have any other questions for me?
I have not seen anything new come in.
Okay.
So.
As a quick reminder, if you're getting something out of this video, please like the video, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to our channel, hit the notifications bell. Consider sharing our video, this one or any of our other videos, with your attorney, your CPA, your friend in California, your friend in North Carolina, you know, somebody in your business networking group who got a COVID loan, and consider sharing the video. And if you want to buy me a pizza and buy Linda a grinder, which we will both share with each other, you can hit the thanks button and send us a few dollars.
I have a new question.
We have a new question.
Okay. Bear with me. Shoot. Here we go. Oops.
Antonio, excellent question. This is a big problem. When you perform a transaction with the SBA for things like change of ownership, selling assets, any number of things, there is a declaration that is included in the SBA form. And that declaration says, I hereby attest that I used the COVID funds as per the guidelines of the program. And as a reminder, you do not want to make misrepresentations to the federal government because you will go to jail. They are putting people in jail every week for fraud on the COVID EIDL program. And much of that fraud and criminal prosecution is revolving around misuse of funds. So I don't know if that answers your question, Antonio. Linda, I see Charles' family has a question.
Charles' family has a question.
Okay, so Charles, it looks like you joined us late. So the first segment of today's broadcast was about forgiveness and the working theory where you have to suspend disbelief and suspend magical thinking.
This is the video we should go to.
Okay, this is the video, Charles' family, that you should watch. But also, this live broadcast, consider later on watching the replay and watch the first segment of the broadcast where I talked about, let's pretend that Congress gives SBA permission to forgive the loans, and watch the video so you can watch the replay so you can see my commentary on that. But Charles, if you are new to our channel, number one, consider liking and subscribing to the video. Number two, go back. I have been saying since the days of the pandemic, in my opinion, these loans will never be forgiven. Okay. If you're making the loan payment every month on time, Charles family, if you have struggles, you can request a hardship accommodation. And we've done videos on that. We have a whole playlist. Okay. I want to move on to folks who are applying for a disaster loan who also got a COVID-19 economic injury disaster loan, or EIDL, during the pandemic. SBA is cross-referencing. So if there's information you put on your natural disaster application for your business today, or actually, even if it's for a home or a property where you are renting an apartment or renting a home, SBA is taking your social security number and looking it up. And if you got a COVID loan, they're cross-referencing that. And we know they're doing that even on folks applying for home loans, because we have a client who hired us at the end of last year before we stopped taking consulting clients. And he requested assistance with a disaster that damaged his house. And so he applied and was declined for a disaster loan for his house. But during the pandemic, he got not one, but two different COVID EIDLs for two different businesses that he and his wife have that they report on Schedule C on their tax returns. And we ran into all kinds of challenges. So they are definitely cross-referencing that. So if you got a COVID EIDL and you're applying for disaster loan, you should be aware that SBA is doing that. We request you file a Freedom of Information Act, a FOIA request, and get your original COVID-19 application to make sure that things you put on that application 5 years ago still matches things about your business today. Because if things have changed and you didn't notify SBA about it, such as changing your address, changing ownership, any other number of things, you're going to be in a world of trouble and a world of pain, because they're going to make you, if you're lucky, they're going to make you go and adjust those things with the appropriate team inside the SBA before you can move forward with your disaster loan. So make sure that you get your application. Number two, go to your MySBA profile and make sure all of your payments are current, because just pretend you're the lender. Would you lend more money for a new loan to somebody who already has a loan with your bank, or in this case, the government, and that person is not making payments faithfully on time? Maybe that person's in hardship. You've got to think like an underwriter, think like the lender. As I was taught in my early days in the mortgage business, Trevor, every loan application, treat the loan application as if it's your own money you're lending. And that's a standard I used for my entire 30-year career. Also, compliance issues. If you have done things like changed address, changed ownership, sold assets, any number of things, you want to get on the phone or send an email to cesc@sba.gov and get that process performed and underway so you are clean. And in the event, God forbid, you have to apply for disaster loan in the future, that you won't have any issues. Okay, unless Linda Ray has more questions from me, we're going to move on to the third segment of our broadcast, COVID compliance. I didn't have enough time to drink my Italian lemonade. I found this in the supermarket the other day. Wow, I love this. Okay. We're going to talk in this third segment about the COVID EIDL program and specifically about compliance issues. But before we do, just as a reminder, if you have a question, please put your question, keep it succinct, remove the storytelling, and keep it into a single comment box, and I'll do my best to answer it. And just by way of managing your expectations, I may not be able to give you all of the details on how to process any given transaction with the SBA here on the video. That's why we created the resource hub for you, so that if you want to go DIY and pay for our expert advice, it's in our opinion, it's very affordable, and it is an exhaustive look at every interaction you need to have with the SBA and how to request that and how to process it with the SBA and what to do if you run into obstacles with the SBA. So that is the how to do it. On answers to your questions tonight, I'm just going to tell you what you have to do. So if you have those questions, please pop them into the comment box. Compliance with the COVID-19 EIDL program. There's 3 things that you need to be aware of. Number 1, read your loan agreement. I'll wait while you go find it. I'm just going to keep myself occupied.
Okay.
Did you take some time to read the loan agreement? Because you need to read the loan agreement. I know I'm being facetious and sarcastic here and somewhat jocular in presenting my humorous aspect on this, but I'm serious. You need to read the loan agreement, and you need to have your attorney read the loan agreement, because everything you need to know about being compliant with the Small Business Administration, so you do not run afoul of their procedures, and so that you can avoid anything that could be conceived as criminal behavior, is in all of that. You need to know it's in the loan agreement. In fact, our resource hub, which we sell here on our business, started out as a 2 or 3 page summary of the loan agreement way back in the summer of 2020 with our first 40 clients that I got approved for COVID loans. And I wanted them to understand their responsibilities and the requirements of the program in plain English. That's how it started. Read your loan agreement. Number 2, you're running your business every day, and there's basic business operations that you're undertaking, any number of things. You know, you've got in the back storage room, you've got a stack of product that just you never were able, it never moved. And it's just sitting back there in the back storage room gathering dust. And, you know, if you sell one item, it's every 8 or 9 months. And you're thinking, I just want to get this to hell off and just clear my books, or my accountant is telling me, my bookkeeper's telling me, hey, listen, you know, we paid for this and we need to just write it off. We got to get rid of it since we're not selling it. And so you put it up on eBay, or you find somebody in your local business networking group, or you find somebody who wants to take this product off your hands at a massive discount. Or maybe they want to pay you full price. I don't know. Who depends on how good a deal maker you are. But you want to sell that product that's sitting in the back storage room. You cannot do that if you have a COVID-19 EIDL without requesting permission to sell those assets from the SBA. And SBA is going to tell you, if you sell that asset, whatever money you receive from selling that asset, you have to apply that to the loan we gave you to either pay a part of the loan back or the entire loan balance back if you make that much money. So you cannot convey assets that the business owns and just sell it off there if those are assets that you don't sell through the normal course of business. And again, read the loan agreement, because it says that in the loan agreement. You are prohibited from selling assets unless they are assets that are sold in the normal course of business operations. And selling one item or 2 items out of a stack of 150 product items in your back storage room, I don't think that counts as, I mean, you try to make the argument, but that's how SBA is going to look at it. So that's what I mean. That's basic business operations. Or, you know, you need an infusion of capital. And so you find somebody who's interested in joining your business and maybe coming in as a partner, an active business owner, and injecting capital. And so you want to give that person, you know, 35% of the business. as a way of saying, thank you, welcome to the business, and you're going to help me run this business. Maybe that person is not going to take an active role. Maybe it's just an infusion of capital because they see the promise of your business long term, that they're going to make an investment. They're going to make money back on that investment. You cannot bring that person in without permission from the SBA if you got a COVID-19 EIDL. And SBA has a process. It's a change of ownership. And that person has to go through a basic kind of background review. And SBA will underwrite that person's ability to be part of the loan. As a reminder, if you are removing somebody from your business who was on the COVID application, somebody who had a 20% or greater ownership interest, and that person was on the application and on the loan, and if the loan is $200,000 or more, I'm sorry, $200,001.
Oh boy.
200,001. If your loan is greater than $200,000, then there is a personal guarantee component. If you are a sole proprietor with no formal business organization, then you are personally responsible for that loan. So if you bring in, if you have somebody that leaves the business, that person does not lose their personal guarantee. SBA has told me time and time and time again, there is no way to get rid of the personal guarantee. I heard last year that they were working on maybe allowing removal of personal guarantee for a business owner leaving the business, but only with a substantial repayment towards the loan balance. And the person who told me that couldn't describe what that substantial, because it was just in the, thinking, talking, researching stages. It was not a formal policy at the SBA. Last thing you need to know to be compliant with the SBA COVID-19 program, if you are interacting with the SBA and you have forms that have to be filled out, do not use this device. Use a computer. Use Adobe PDF. Do not use Google PDF, Microsoft PDF, Apple PDF, PDF online. Don't, because those PDFs, we've seen it time and again, they don't play well with the SBA's antiquated technology. We've seen multiple instances where people submit PDFs and the SBA rep says, I never got the email with the PDF because their security system stripped it out. It's behind a firewall and the loan specialist doesn't get it, or the loan specialist can't open it. Use Adobe. Do not use a smartphone. Do the forms right. Use the carpenter's rule. Measure twice, cut once. Linda Ray, do we have any other questions?
Well, I did. Antonio Perez had this that I put up that I think you answered it with over 500,000 and partner buyout.
Well, the question here is excellent, Antonio, and all of the above must be with SBA's interaction and several of these items with permission, all of it. The bankruptcy, I don't know. You have to ask your attorney about that. But all the other items, partner buyout, dissolution of business, etc., merger or acquisition, all of that, you definitely have to get permission from the SBA. Please note that the SBA has in bold print on the forms that you're going to fill out to submit to the SBA, which if you want to see those forms in advance, you can purchase our resource hub because we've got the forms in there and instructions on how to fill them out. And soon there will be instructional videos with a private playlist if you have purchased the resource hub with this guy and Linda Ray kicking me under the table to stop yakking so much. But on the form, it says, please note, monetary consideration may be required to receive approval from the SBA. We have a video for that. Linda Ray just shouted from over there on the cozy couch. I'm sitting at the dining room table. So watch that video. Monetary consideration may be required. And I will tell you, having processed a couple of these transactions, sale of assets and change of ownership, they are very firm. We had one situation where the SBA forced the borrower to repay the entire loan balance out of the proceeds of selling assets. He had assets valued around $500,000. He was selling $350,000 worth. He had a $100,000 COVID loan. And this loan specialist, the SBA, nothing I said could dissuade her. She was not about negotiations for anything. She forced him to pay off the entire $100,000 loan balance out of the $350,000 proceeds from the sale of the assets. And I said to her, that doesn't make any sense because you still have $150,000 worth of assets to secure the collateral. This is what I mean about a lot of times the SBA does not function out here in the real world the way we do with basic business operations and functionality of a basic business operation. In another case with a change of ownership, processing the change of ownership paperwork, the SBA rep wanted the $1 million, it was the COVID-19 loan of $1 million, and she wanted them to pay back $250,000 of the $1 million. And on the phone, I said to her, how did you come up with the $250,000? She said, well, here at the SBA, we like to get some of the money paid back. I'm like, we like? I come from a background in banking. There's no, we like to do it. There's rules for how things are done. And it's called credit criteria. And I said to her, okay, well, how'd you come up with the $250? She said, well, typically we ask for 20%. I did not correct her math that the $250 was actually 25% of the $1 million. Hashtag math is fun. Well, we got the change of ownership approved, and she waived the requirement for the repayment of the $250. So we went back over to the other team that was managing subordination because this client was doing change of ownership with a new loan that was going to take second position behind the COVID loan. And that team member came back and said, you must use $1 million out of the $1,250,000 loan you're getting to pay back the entire COVID loan. And that was a deal killer. But it didn't kill the deal because I convinced the SBA to waive that requirement. So we saved our client a lot of money in that transaction. We earned our fee. Sadly, we are no longer taking clients for consulting. Okay, Linda, I see a couple of other questions if you want to pop those up. And as a reminder, while Linda's doing that, if you like this video, please click the like button, click the subscribe button and the bell for notifications. If you want to buy me and Linda a pizza and a meatball hero, or as we say here in Connecticut, a grinder from our favorite pizza joint, then you can hit the thanks button and send us a few shekels. And if you need expert guidance on any of these transactions that I'm telling you that you have to do something, you want to learn how to do it and you want to manage it yourself without going through the very painful learning curve of dealing directly with the SBA without any foreknowledge, you can purchase our COVID-19 EIDL Resource Hub.
All right, Kendra has a bankruptcy question.
Pop it up.
And I did point to, in the comments, I put how we have a bankruptcy playlist, and go to the posts.
They can't necessarily hear you.
I know, I'm telling you, so you.
Oh, you're telling me? Because you give me a lot over there to repeat, and I'm not a parrot.
It's in the comments. It's in the comments that we have posts regarding bankruptcy.
Oh, it is in the comments. There it is. Kendra, please check our posts where we have info about bankruptcy, and we have a playlist about bankruptcy. And Kendra, sadly, I can't answer this type of question because I'm not an attorney. We're in Connecticut. It's a felony to give legal advice when you're not a licensed attorney. I don't know what it is in your state, but when I lived in New York, it was a felony there too. So I'm going to guess that giving legal advice when you're not an attorney is probably a felony pretty much everywhere. So we don't give legal advice. We do give hypothetical situations, but we always say, please consult with your attorney. But Kendra, while that is an excellent question, we thank you for posing that. It is, I can't even really give, hypothetical to that. You really need to discuss that with a bankruptcy attorney. If you are in California, by the way.
Texas.
Oh, Texas. I don't know any attorneys in Texas. Sorry. Okay. Next question, Linda Ray.
Ryan Chen.
Ryan Chen. Thank you for joining us, Ryan. And thank you other folks. I haven't said that for a while. Kendra and Antonio and Cookie. Hey, Cookie. We miss you, Cookie. Hope business is good by you. And so, Ryan, thank you all for joining us this evening. Again, just as a reminder, if you like the video, please click the like button. Please subscribe, and please share our video with somebody you think might find this information useful. Ryan, hey, Ryan, hey yourself. Got a notice of acceleration and default in my portal, but the balance due is all wrong, and I am current on payments. Is this a case of SBA being wrong, or is it an actual problem? Well, I can't answer that because I don't know what your payment history is, Ryan. But, okay, so you're going to see an upcoming pre-recorded video here on our channel where I discuss this very topic in detail. But let me give you the really short answer to it right now. Acceleration and default means it's going to go to United States Treasury for collections. So it looks like SBA is up to its old tricks there. Number two, we dealt with somebody just 2 days ago where I looked up his payment history and I could see that, in fact, there were problems with the payments. But SBA didn't tell him properly in a clear, easy to understand manner. You know, when you are late with your credit card payment, when you're late with your mortgage payment, your phone starts ringing. You get emails, you get letters, sometimes you get certified letters, and you get very clear communications from the creditor, from the bank with the credit card, from the bank with the mortgage. And they're pretty clear about how many payments you are behind. You know, can we work something out, and how much you have to pay to bring it up to date? No such protocol exists at the SBA, and I don't care how many times you call the SBA, you will get wrong answers to that question. So, Ryan, make sure you tune in, you know, subscribe to the channel and click the bell for notifications, because when I put that video up, which the working title of it right now is SBA Forces COVID Loans into Default. That's the working title. We might change it, but that's going to be coming up shortly. And when I say shortly, I don't mean the next 15 minutes, but that's in the works as a pre-recorded video. I know that wasn't a very helpful answer, Ryan, but again, thank you for sharing that question. You know, your second part of your question, is this a case of SBA being wrong, or is this an actual problem? It's probably both of those things, Ryan. There is probably some payment, you know, malfunction somewhere along the line. I would encourage you to look at your payment activity and payment history, both tabs on the MySBA portal. And you kind of, you know, listen, I was a loan officer. I'm a finance person. And when I did this with somebody on the phone and looked at his MySBA portal 2 nights ago, it was difficult for me to figure it out, you know, with my Sherlock Holmes detective cap on. I can't imagine how the average small business owner functions in that case, but stay tuned for that video. Linda Ray, do we have any other questions?
I do not think so.
I'm going to scroll back here to see and make sure we got everybody.
Yeah, Antonio, I commented to his comments.
Thank you, Antonio.
There's this one.
Do I look confused? Because I'm reading. Did my mouth drop open, Antonio?
No, he looks frozen.
I am frozen because I'm reading it going, I don't really know how to answer this. Let me think. Can a partner guarantor leave without cash be replaced with a new one? Oh, so can somebody leave the business and someone else come into the business and there's no money? Yeah, that you can definitely do that. But again, you need permission from the SBA. And you have to disclose that there's no monetary consideration for the person leaving and no monetary liquid investment from the person coming in. It's just changing names on the official articles of incorporation.
There you go.
So I guess I answered that after all. I guess I did good. Huh?
Yeah, you did good.
Kendra, because I have multiple SBA products, 7A disaster, and I have a hard time finding SBA advisors. Is there any department for borrowers? Kendra, believe me, we feel your pain. I was recently interviewed by Louis Cam from NBC Universal about the complete mess last year with the U.S. Treasury stuff. And when he first called me, he said, oh, you know, he said, I found you on YouTube and your blog and da-da-da. And I in that initial interview, I said to him, I gave him some names of some other YouTube channels that he might want to interview. And over the course of a couple of weeks while he was working on the article, he came back to me later on and he's like, holy cow. He goes, there's really nobody out there that knows what you know. He said, I've spoken to the other people. And there's very few people who do this. Yoel posted a question earlier about some scam artists claiming that they can get you a 90% reduction for 3 years, which is complete fucking bullshit. I apologize, Kendra, if that language is offensive to you. It's not offensive to me. Not offensive to me because I'm from fucking New York. But the reporter from NBC Universal told me, he says that's not the first time we've heard that from journalists. We've been interviewed multiple times, going all the way back to the pandemic, and journalists often say to me, holy cow, like there's nobody else out there doing this. And then they come back later and go, holy cow, there's like, I spoke to some other people, like nobody knows what you know. And I'm sorry that we cannot help you with that situation for two reasons, Kendra. Number one, we're not taking consulting clients. Number two, that multiple SBA products, that's way outside my wheelhouse of expertise. And I wouldn't want to waste your time taking your money on something that I don't feel, our standard here for consulting has always been that before we take your money, we want to know we're going to have a reasonable chance of success. And we do that through our filtering process, our questionnaires and so forth. And in this situation, Kendra, I just don't feel that even if we were still accepting clients, that we would be able to assist you with this. And I apologize. Call your bar association. Ask them if they can refer you to an attorney that specializes in small business administration. But a word of caution there, again, coming from Louis Cam from NBC Universal, which, Linda, do you have the link to the article? Linda's going to put the link to that article. I would invite all of you to read that article because it is quite frightening what he learned from me and other folks he interviewed, including several of our clients, and what he heard back from the SBA. But Louis told me, it was Louis, or it may have been a client. Someone told me recently that they contacted a couple of different SBA, attorneys who specialize in SBA, and at least one of those law firms said, "Oh no, we can't help you with your situation because it would be conflict of interest because we represent the SBA in loan closings." Which I don't understand why that's a conflict of interest, but what do I know? I mean, I've worked with law firms for 30 years in the real estate business. You get law firms that work with buyers and sellers, but that's the best. I hope that's helpful, Kendra. Contact your bar association and then, call a whole bunch of attorneys and interview them. Have like 3 or 4 or 5 basic questions about what you need to know and what their experience is with the program. And as we say here on our questions, keep it concise, take the storytelling out of it, and, interview the way you would interview somebody who's going to come and work for you. So any other questions, Linda Ray?
No, I think I have the link. I'm going to put the link in the comments.
Linda's going to, which link is that, Linda? For the NBC Universal article? Okay. We're having a little bit of dead air right now. Oh, Toshiba's back, but I think I missed a lot trying to catch up. 2 times speed. Okay. You missed, but it's stuff that I think I've already discussed with you, Toshiba. So,
That's it. I think we can wrap it up. And
Kendra, and thank you, Linda, for putting Kendra's comment up again.
Elected officials, contact elected officials.
Yeah, Kendra, it seems all guidance is for lenders. That is correct. But, it's a loan program like any loan program out there. And, actually, there's another YouTube channel, Jason Tees, and he specializes in distressed loans. He comes from that background of doing workouts. So you might want to check out his YouTube channel. And he offers paid consultations. So you may want to consider having that conversation with him. Maybe he can help you. Sorry that I didn't think of that sooner. You know, Linda Ray is not wrong. Call your congressperson. Call your United States senator. State officials are not going to help you. They have no input on federal programs. So you really want to talk to your person who's in the House of Representatives or your United States senator, both of them. And typically the way that works is you go to the congressperson or the senator's website and you have to fill out a form. You have to sign a disclosure affidavit because they're not allowed to have a conversation with you or about you with the SBA without your disclosure permission. It's like a third-party authorization. And good luck, because we've seen mixed results with politicians stepping in to help their constituents. Yeah. Including a client who hired us for the U.S. Treasury mess last year, a dentist in California who was in tears on the phone. And she had reached out to her congressional representative, and the answer that they came back with was so lame and so inadequate. It's what I mean. You know, we've seen mixed results with getting the politicians involved. All righty. In that case, folks, thank you all for joining us this evening.
I commented to Cookie in the comments.
Not yet, Cookie. Cookie, I haven't even given Linda the updates yet, which I promise you, she literally just asked me for 3 hours ago, for a number of reasons, not the least of which is, you know, the SBA is a moving target. And when I publish the updates, I want those to be as current as possible. That's why we tell folks, if you buy access to our resource hub now for $675, you will receive free updates when we publish those through April 30th, 2025. Once those updates are published, including hopefully an audible version of the guide, and you know, Audible, Cookie, just, you know, what we're planning to do with the updates is create a private playlist of instructional videos like this, where I say, okay,
It could be audio.
you know, and you know, that could be audio only. So Linda Ray, that's her wheelhouse, not mine. And as I said at the start of our broadcast, Linda Ray, you hear me talking about her all night. She's my partner in everything. The best thing that ever happened to me. She's my everything girl. She's on kind of a hiatus. So even though she's with us tonight, I can tell you right now, she's in her pajamas and she's wearing her fuzzy pink robe, which is really cute. She's really cute.
Don't tell my
But
secrets.
she's not really working right now. She's
No secrets.
like this morning, I said to her, listen, I said, you have 2 jobs today. Number 1, stay in bed and chill out, watch movies, and I will serve you breakfast and lunch. And number 2, when you get up and about, we bought some fresh berries yesterday. Please rinse those and treat them properly in the refrigerator. That's all she's doing. So I know I'm revealing a lot of information, but those of you who know us from the past, such as Cookie and Toshiba, know that we like to tell you who we are. You know, I've seen recently a lot of YouTubers talking about, you know, you have to be authentic. You have to be authentic. Listen, man, I was authentic before these kids were even born. I'm just talking all out. You know, I worked in customer service when I was in my 20s. I worked in the mortgage business as I entered my 30s. I did that for 30 years. And to me, I used to get in trouble for this all the time in the mortgage business, because in the mortgage business, it's a sales job. You're selling money. And it's about going out there and finding people to do loans for. And I would spend a lot of time, you know, building trust with prospects and referral sources. And when I took a loan application, I explained everything, every form the borrower was going to sign, every aspect. And I got in trouble all the time with managers. You know, oh my God, you never shut up. You talk too much. Just get the application, get the check, and get out of there. Go home. Go write another deal. And I felt like I wanted to treat people the way I wanted to be treated when I was trying to figure out how to buy my first house, which is why I got in the mortgage business in the first place. And I felt like I could never turn to anyone and get an authentic person to give me a straight damned answer on what it takes to buy a house. Here's how much money I make. Here's how much money I've got saved up. Here's where I want to live. Is that possible? And you cannot believe. So, yeah, I'm sharing a lot about my girl over there in her pink robe because that's who we are. And if you want to learn more about who we are, just put all our videos on playlists and just play them all day. Because first of all, it juices the algorithm for us. So thank you for that. And secondly, you'll learn who we are. And we hope that, like Cookie and like Toshiba and soon Antonio, that you will get to know us. So, Linda Ray, unless we have any more questions, I'm going to say fare thee well. And you ready to end the stream?
Ending the stream.
Good night.
We created a guidebook way back when, June of 2020. It was 3 pages of us giving plain English translations of the EIDL loan agreement for our first 40 clients that we helped to get approved for the COVID-19 EIDL program. But here we are in 2020, and I have to tell you, it's not a guidebook. Is that a joke? Well, it's not a joke. We've wrestled with this concept of calling it a guidebook. It was a downloadable PDF where I put all of the distilled expertise from my loan officer brain, 30 years as a mortgage loan officer, now 4.5 years with the COVID-19 EIDL program. And I've worked on thousands of interactions with the SBA since March of 2020. And I've distilled all that information and put it into a downloadable PDF with easy to follow step-by-step instructions, templates that I created for emails or phone conversations or letters that I have used successfully for our clients, but we don't do that anymore. No, because it's not a guidebook. It's not a guidebook. It's not a guidebook. It is a resource hub. Click on the link in the description and access the EIDL Resource Hub, where you will find not only downloadable PDFs with step-by-step instructions for any of the many different procedures and interactions you have to make with the SBA to manage your COVID-19 EIDL loan, from setting up repayment to prepaying the loan early, to information about the interest that you're paying on the loan, information about the hardship accommodation program, change of ownership, change of address, selling collateral, bringing in investors, selling equity, all of that. It's all there. Plus an exclusive private playlist of my instructional videos, similar to the videos that we put here on YouTube during the pandemic, that we are pretty sure folks used our videos. We've heard from people who said, I used your videos. Thank you for the instructions, which were free. The EIDL Resource Hub has a private playlist of instructional videos on anything that is involved in your COVID loan. So click on the link in the description.